Hey guys, welcome back to Real Housewives Recaps. Today I'm covering Gilmore Girls, Season 1, Episode 2, the Lorelai's first day at Chilton. I'm loving rewatching these episodes. It's just so good. It starts so good right out of the gate, and that's hard to say for most shows. It usually takes a couple episodes, but not this show. I just instantly loved it, and I love talking about it, and I'm so excited to go over Episode 2 with you guys. Hey guys, I just want to take a second and say if you're enjoying this show, please check out my Patreon. Go to patreon.com, search Real Housewives Recaps, or check the comments below and I'll put a link. And for $1 a week, you can support my show and get 4 bonus episodes per month. I'm covering Scary Island, like the greatest season of Real Housewives of New York. So check it out. Thanks so much. So the episode starts off with Lorelai painting Rory's nails. Rory is eating whipped cream. Again, this is a theme throughout the entire series. They eat crazy foods. They stay tiny. It's kind of funny to watch. Rory's asking, why are we doing this? And Lorelai says, you're starting private school tomorrow. Rory says, yes, but no one will see my feet. And Lorelai says, everyone knows private school girls are bad. And bad girls always wear a red nail polish. So Rory's kind of nervous about starting Chilton. And then all of a sudden we see Lane. Lane runs over in a flash. And she's excited because she's got this new CD. CDs. Lorelai takes off and Rory says, you only finished half my toes. And we hear Lorelai yell, who cares? You're going to be wearing shoes anyway. And that's how the episode starts. Cue the theme song and the beautiful leaves and the fall scenes, and it's just, every time I hear this song I get excited. I love it. So we open up at Rory and Lorelai's house, and this is just one of the funniest scenes to me. Lorelai is sound asleep. Rory walks in and yells, Mom, it's 7:10, and Lorelai says, it's 5:45. Rory's freaking out. She says she doesn't want to be labeled the late girl. Lorelai said she was going to get up early and get coffee and pick up her dry cleaning clothes, and then it hits her. Oh my gosh, she doesn't have any clothes. So Rory's downstairs and she's yelling for her mom, and her mom comes downstairs, and this is just so Lorelai and so funny, and she's wearing this outfit and like cowboy boots. And Lorelai says, what? And Rory says, nothing. I just didn't know the rodeo was in town. And Lorelai yells, I'm bringing the baby pictures. Rory says, no, I'm sorry. I love the rodeo. The rodeo rules. So they're driving to Chilton, which is in Hartford. She drives past her old Stars Hello High. And Rory's kind of sad because she sees all the kids playing and stuff. She misses them. She's nervous. They get to Chilton. And it's this big building, and they're looking up at it, and they're like, oh my gosh, it's so big. And I love this scene because it's part of the opening credits, and it's just so cute to see them interacting together. Lorelai says, I love you. You can call me if you need me. Rory says, you're kidding, right? And Lorelai says, no. Call me if you need anything. I'm great at making up dirty tears. And Rory says, no, you have to come in. You have to meet the headmaster. Lorelai says, look at me. I can't meet anybody who does anything. And that's where she has to put on her coat and try to come meet the headmaster dressed like this. Well, of course, her coat falls off. She runs into some parents dressed like that. And it's so embarrassing and so funny. So she's trying to find the headmaster's office, and this guy kind of hits on her. So she's into it. So she ends up telling him where she works, and Laura, they're going back and forth, and Rory is really funny here because she says, I bet you're feeling pretty good about yourself, and Lorelai says, yeah, and Rory says, do you want me to get a mirror? And she says, I'm back, let's go. Then we have our first Paris sighting. We also see Madeline and Louise, but Paris really, she'll stick around, you'll see. If you've seen this before, you know what I'm talking about. So then we see him going to the headmaster's office, and it's sweet. You can see their bond, and Lorelai's there to support Rory, and they go in and meet this very scary lady who leads them in to meet Headmaster Charles. So when they go into Headmaster Charles' office, of course they see him, and Lorelai turns her head, and she's absolutely shocked to see Emily. Turns out Emily knows Headmaster Charles' wife, Biddy. They're old friends at the club. So then they want to talk, and they ask her to take off her coat. And Lorelai's like, no, I'm good. And Emily kind of makes a big stink about it, like, you don't want him to think you're rude, you need to take off your coat. So, of course, Lorelai does. And, yeah, that's where we see this. It's just so funny. I would have figured out a way to keep that jacket on. Of course, Emily stares her down and can't believe that Lorelai is dressed like this. So they make small talk with the headmaster, and Emily then goes to leave and asks Lorelai if she needs a ride or if her horse is parked outside. So Emily and Lorelai leave, leaving Rory with the headmaster, and Emily's asking Lorelai what kind of impression would she make dressed like that. Emily says, I thought it was important for the school to know that they have a Gilmore amongst them. They talk about Friday night dinner. Emily says, no spurs, please. So Headmaster is interviewing Rory. This is where we find out and start to hear about her aspirations in journalism as well as political science. She wants to go to Harvard. Her role model is Christian Amanpour. And she wants to travel the world up close and be a part of something big. And so that's kind of where we learn about her aspirations, her intelligence. And this is where we also find out how tough Chilton is. And he explains there's a good chance you'll fail. You're starting late. You're not used to this kind of pressure. This place is really hard. So it's going to be a rough ride for her. We see her go into administration. Rory has to drop a file on this girl's desk, and of course we see her hand it out the window. This is where we kind of get to know Paris. Now let me just explain Paris a little bit. We're going to see a lot of Paris, and yeah, we're going to see a lot of her this episode. She starts out tough, but we'll see. We'll see if our attitudes and opinions change about Paris. So it's over at Luke's. Lorelai says it's the longest day of her life, asks for coffee. He's trying to tell her what it'll do to her system, and Lorelai says, do you have a chart? I love charts. And Luke says, forget it, kill yourself. Rory is starting Chilton, is what Lorelai's telling him. That's why she's so stressed. And Luke says, and that's how you dress to take her to a fancy school? So she's just like, I'm out of here. We see Miss Patty teaching the kids. I love Miss Patty. She knows everything about everybody. She says, isn't today Rory's first day at Chilton? And that's what you wore? And again, Lorelai is just like, ugh, I'm over it. We see Lorelai at home. She's finally picked up her dry cleaning. Her phone's ringing. It ends up being Emily. Emily's saying, I was doing some shopping and I wanted to pick up some extra tops and extra skirts for Rory's school. What about a sweater and a book bag and socks? And Lorelai says, what are you getting, a cut of the merchandise? So again, Emily's already being intrusive and wanting to do all these things, and Lorelai's just not used to having them in her life like this. So they're both struggling a little bit. So over at Chilton, Paris knows every answer to everything. She keeps raising her hand, and so Rory's kind of figuring out, okay, I get you, Paris. Tristan walks in, and he notices Rory and then says, looks like we got ourselves a Mary. And so we know he's going to be, Tristan. So Rory goes up to the teacher. He gives her a huge stack of papers and tells her all this stuff and is like, you're much better off finding notes from somebody. She ends up in the hallway and talking to Paris, and Paris, she kind of gives her a hard time. She says, are you going out for the Franklin? And Rory says, I don't know. Paris says, I'm going to be the editor next year. I'm also going to be head of the class and valedictorian when I graduate. And Rory says, okay, I'm going now. So over at the inn, we start out with Suki, and this is our first Jackson sighting. I love Jackson. He's so funny, so much fun. He and Suki are so cute. So Jackson is supplying the fruit, and Suki always is judgmental about all the food and saying that the peaches are too watery and driving Jackson crazy. So Lorelai comes in. They're talking about Rory's first day. They talk about Emily in the headmaster's office and celebrating Rory. And that's where Michelle walks in, and he says that Lorelai's got a phone call, and it's Emily. So again, Emily is just bugging the crap out of her. She's really having a rough day. She tells her that she just bought a parking space for Rory at Chilton, and Lorelai says she doesn't have a car. And Emily says no, but she's got a birthday coming up. And Lorelai says, Mom, you're not buying her a car. I hate that she takes the bus. Drug dealers take the bus. So, again, intrusive. And very interesting to see the relationship between Lorelai and her parents. Rory runs into Tristan, and he's just being Tristan. He calls her Mary, and she's like, my name is Rory. He offers her his notes, offers to study with her, and he's kind of being flirty, and she's like, no, thanks. And he says, bye, Mary. Back at the end, Michelle gets Lorelai again, and Lorelai's like, oh, is it Emily? And it turns out it's the school dad. He showed up, and he says he has a lunch meeting there, and then asks to take her out to dinner. And she says, I'm flattered, but you're a dad. I'm a mom. This is tricky, and our kids go to the same school. And he says, casual dinner, and she says, I'm sorry. And he says he's going to China for a week, and when he gets back, he's going to try again. And Lorelai is funny. She's just, checking him out, and Michelle says, you make me sick. Back at Chilton, Rory's really struggling with her locker. It's stuck. She pulls on it hard, and what happens? It hits Paris, and Paris's project falls to the floor and explodes. And Rory feels so bad, she keeps saying, I'm sorry, and Paris says, get away from me. They ended up heading to the same class, and the teacher's saying, let's pick up with projects, let's start with Paris. Rory stands up and says, I'm so sorry, it's my fault, and Paris is like, shut up. And Rory keeps trying to explain, and the teacher says, well, since you wrecked the project, you may help her fix it. You have until tomorrow. Paris says, no, I don't want your help. And so the teacher says, fine, you have until tomorrow. And again, Tristan's still calling her Mary. So Lorelai's back at Luke's. She's trying to explain her weird day and talks about that dad that asked her out. And Luke's telling her, don't go, and says, it's good that you turned him down. And keeps asking her, so you're not going? And Lorelai says, no, I'm not going. And they have this prolonged eye contact. And I love Luke. And while they're sitting there having this moment, all of a sudden Lorelai's phone rings, and it's Babette, the neighbor. So Lorelai runs home, and it's Babette and Maury, their neighbors. So this is the first time meeting them. And you guys, this is so funny. So this is where we meet, oh my gosh, what did they call him? They call him Mick. So this is where we meet Mick. And I say it like that because he ends up becoming Kirk, a regular fixture on the show. But this second episode, he's Mick. And he's setting up a DSL line. And she's like, what? I didn't order this. And he says he's installing it by an order placed by Emily Gilmore. And Lorelai ends up sending them away. Then back over at Chilton, Rory is desperately trying to apologize. She's sending Paris a note. Paris just throws it away. So Rory's just like, fine. When the teacher starts asking questions, Rory then answers them faster than Paris. And this really bugs Paris. Paris ends up telling her, you stay out of my way. I will make this school a living hell for you. Then we see Emily's hair salon. Lorelai is saying, this isn't happening. No cars, no parking spaces, no discussion. I'm being me, the same person needing to work out her own problems, and I'm going to work this out. And I appreciate you paying for Chilton, but I decide how we live, not you. Emily, this is just an ongoing struggle. Emily wants to be part of their lives, but she does it in such a way where she's pushy, and Lorelai just isn't into that at all. So back at Chilton, school is dismissing, and Rory runs to Lorelai, and she drops her backpack, and they both had sucky days, and they're hugging, and Rory just doesn't want to let go, and they talk about their days, and Rory ends up telling her that one girl already hates her, and the guys kept calling her Mary. Lorelai says, "Oh, you're kidding me. I can't believe they still say that. Mary is like Virgin Mary. They think you're a goody-goody." So that night, they're taking a walk, and Rory's saying, "I wish I could figure out a way to get Paris off my back." Lorelai says, "Want me to talk to anybody? A parent, a teacher, a big guy named Moose?" And then they stop in front of Luke's, and Lorelai says, "What do you think of Luke?" And Rory says, "What about him?" And Lorelai says, "Do you think he's cute?" Rory says, "You can't date Luke. If you break up, we won't be able to eat anywhere." And then Rory says, "You should date Al from Al's Pancake World. His food stinks." And Lorelai says, "Al stinks. Al's Pancake World." In the very final scenes, we see Luke. He noticed Rory and Lorelai, so he came out just to kind of check and see if they were going to come in. And when they're not, he turns his sign to close, and I love it. Such a good episode. So many new characters introduced that we will see along the way, and so many storylines here, and this begins the Luke and Lorelai of it all. I love Luke. Such a good episode, such a good show. I just love how it starts off so great, and it just keeps going. So much to talk about. I really hope you guys are enjoying the recaps. I got so many positive feedbacks on the first one, and I really appreciate that. So keep watching. Tell your friends that like Gilmore Girls to subscribe as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And thanks again. Bye-bye.